What is the Tough Mudder?
The Tough Mudder is a roughly 12-mile military-style obstacle course. It's a fundraising event that's connected with the Wounded Warrior Project. They travel all around the country and just have different events. It's a big obstacle course, 12-mile run.
What is the Wounded Warrior Project?
The Wounded Warrior Project is a non-profit organization. Specifically what they benefit is veterans that were overseas that came back with some sort of injury. Could be physical or mental. They had a lot of uplifting stories there about people that lost their legs, lost their arms, so the physical injuries. But I know more recently the focus has been on like mental injuries, like specifically post-traumatic stress disorder, because that's a very big problem for a lot of our recent veterans that are over there in Afghanistan and Iraq.
What programs does the Wounded Warrior offer soldiers who have been wounded in combat?
That's an interesting question because they do a lot of things as far as like counseling for the post-traumatic stress, like I was saying. They do a lot of employment services, which is, I personally had a role in that. I used to work for a staffing company called Aerotech, and Wounded Warrior actually came in and talked to the recruiters, which is what I did, and we actually did mock interviews with the Wounded Warriors, getting them ready, giving them pointers, overlooking their resumes, things like that. So then when they were actually out in the job force on an interview with a real company, they wouldn't be so nervous. They'd have a better chance of getting hired and just kind of overall raise their comfort level with the process. So they do a bunch of miscellaneous, things like that for the veterans.
And how much money has Tough Mudder raised towards the Wounded Warrior Project?
I believe the amount of money they raised up to date is $5 million, and that's just through the Tough Mudder alone. And of course they have a bunch of other fundraising avenues, so I thought that was pretty impressive.
How does the race make people appreciate what soldiers go through?
Well, I can't fully make you appreciate what they go through. Just running 12 miles in the mud is never actually going to put you where a soldier's at in Afghanistan or Iraq. But it gives a lot of us that have normal jobs, 9 to 5, a very brief taste of what it would be like to go through basic training, the sort of mental beat down that they get during the training and overseas. However, it gives you a really big taste of being in the military just because of the camaraderie and the teamwork. Everybody's cheering you on. Everybody wants you to finish. It's almost not even a race. It's just like a big community event. It's pretty impressive.
What were some examples of camaraderie that you saw during the race?
Well, for me specifically, about half the obstacles I could not get over without somebody's help. So I'd be running, there's one in particular, it's called Everest. It's a big warped wall, similar like a skateboarding, like half pipe. You gotta run up the thing. I failed the first couple times, and I literally had about 5 or 6 people wheeling me up the thing, giving their hands. There was a guy there who was running at one of the Wounded Warriors who only had one leg, and every single obstacle somebody was helping him out. So there was just teamwork all over the place. But those are a couple specific examples that stick out in my mind.
How did you train, and did your training completely prepare you for the Tough Mudder?
I trained, I knew I was going to do it 3 months ago, me and a couple of my buddies. So I started, it was winter, so I kind of got off the couch, stopped eating potato chips, and did a little bit more traditional. I went to the gym. I focused a lot on cardio. Did a bunch of running, biking. Once it warmed up a little bit, started going to the pool. My parents have their pool, so I was trying to do laps, things like that. Went to a couple CrossFit classes, because I heard it was very intense. But I will say none of it fully prepared me for being out there surrounded by thousands of people screaming and covered in mud. And obviously because I wouldn't have access to any of those obstacles. So I wasn't fully prepared, but I did the best that I could with my tools available.
Why did you want to run the Tough Mudder?
Well, like I said before, I worked with a company that had a direct relationship with Wounded Warrior. So as far as doing anything with a charity, it's one that I'm familiar with. It's one that I really believe in. I think it's a great cause. Also, my friends sort of conned me into doing it. Like, hey man, do the Tough Mudder. I wasn't too excited at first, but they pretty much talked me into it. Once I found out it was with Wounded Warrior, I got a little bit more jazzed up. But I did it mostly to, as a fun thing, and also to kind of test myself, because I used to play sports a long, long time ago, and I wanted to see if I still had it athletically.
What was the most inspirational part of the race for you?
Well, the most inspirational part, even more so than just the teamwork and the camaraderie, is they actually brought groups of Wounded Warriors to run the event alongside us. So watching those guys who had actually been over there and experienced the stories that they were telling us and kind of going through the same things that I was, definitely motivated me to keep pushing, and it was a visual representation of what I actually was running for, which is, a charity for those guys. So that was definitely the most inspirational part.